Good Thursday morning, and welcome to Ice Age TV, the Internal Combustion Engine Age TV Conversations YouTube channel. And wow, what incredible weather. It is like December 8th, and you would think you're in Florida. I mean, really, it is just beautiful up here. The grass is starting growing at this rate. I'll be cutting grass again in December. I don't want to do that. I'd have to wait till tomorrow to do that because it's too wet still, right? Or am I leaving tomorrow to go to Florida? Wow, time. It's just incredible as we all progress. Come on, puppies, let's go. Everybody's kind of spread out. And got the troops. Come on, troopers. Yeah, so got a package sitting here. I got to get off the ground or whatever. Come on, that's something for you. Yeah, so anyway, the Ice Age TV, morning conversations, and if you follow my channel, it's about just talking about general things. I just like to talk. That's who I am. I just like to talk. I enjoy sharing ideas and talking about things, and they're not always directly correlated, somewhat correlated, because the whole governing bodies in the world control cars. Well, you want to accept that nobody's shut up to buy the bike, so... But they'll be here tomorrow, right? Yeah, that was my theme, I thought to myself this morning. Let's talk about tomorrow conversations. Who here, look at the cars here, all the cars covered up. I mean, you know, it's kind of like these are all kind of sitting in the winter months now, yes, you could say. Right? Love my Raptor truck. We're going to take the Raptor truck to Florida and the Bronco Raptor, and I'll take some of my Harleys down, go riding. But these cars down at my dad's residence, the truck gets called out. You can't park the truck in the driveway. It's the most ridiculous thing in the world. It's just beyond unbelievable. The controls. Yeah, we've had that conversation. Come on, Ginger. Where are you, girl? Ginger. So one dog's not crack the dog down. Come on, girl. There you are. Yeah, so I want to take that down to Florida, take a few vehicles down, motorcycle trailer, Harleys, all that good stuff. And at one point I thought I'd be leaving tomorrow. At one point I thought I'd be leaving. But just too much going on up north here for me to leave and get things in order for me to be gone for a while. And then this kind of goes away, kind of meaning, you know, I kind of have my personal meeting room. First down in Florida, I'll be sitting in a car talking, I guess. Right? Yeah, who knows? But anyways, and why don't we talk about tomorrow? And this isn't really anything new, per se. You know, meaning that I don't think that anybody could say that we haven't always lived in the tomorrow world. But boy, oh boy, I just think to myself, this is just me. You know, it's just like, what the heck is going on? I mean, what is going on in this country? To me, it's befuddling, it's aggravating, it's just disheartening, it's just confusion. I mean, to me, I just don't understand what is changing our country. I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that just kind of like clueless, because I get it. You have to go to work every day of your life and pay the bills. You got kids, you got a wife, you got responsibilities. You just don't really have time to sit around and critique what the governing bodies are doing in this country. So, but what I thought to myself this morning was, it seems like more than ever, the media machine is all about tomorrow. And once again, I'm not saying that the tomorrow conversations hasn't been around ever since mankind's been around. But I mean, what I'm saying to you this morning is, it seems like we're getting things for people to agree on that are about tomorrow. They're not about today, they're about tomorrow. So we'll just use the car industry, which I try to kind of keep a little bit of the car theme in that type of thought process. More than ever, we're witnessing the changeover of how transportation is diversifying for tomorrow. because all we hear is that if we don't change the way we use energy to be transported around, then it's dire circumstances. I mean, that's the presentation from the green agenda to the manufacturing industries, that you have but no choice to get rid of ICE and to get rid of fossil fuels, because for tomorrow, the world's going to be in dire circumstances if you don't do that. Even the point the sitting president, Joe Biden, has point blank said his goal is to eliminate fossil fuels. I don't know how he'll be alive that long to even witness that, but I mean, the underlying message is his administration and his policies that he's setting and putting forth are, in his eyes and views, going to create the fossil fuel days, which will then, for tomorrow, supposedly make the world a better place. Right. Yeah. Okay. So, and to the point that he's passing bills like the Inflation Reduction Act. In the automotive industry, that's kind of it's kind of irking some of the European and Asian countries that are seeing that this Inflation Reduction Act in that bill, if you want to buy an electric car and get a $7,500 tax deduction, that only qualifies starting next year, I believe. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's 2023. That if you buy a vehicle, it has to be manufactured here, and or the components are shared with free trade partners throughout the world, and those components that are put in the electric vehicle have to be assembled here. And if everything's assembled here and all the parts are free trade partners to complete that process, then you get your $7,500 tax credit. If you don't have all that, then they start dicing it all up and you don't get a full tax credit. So for the other manufacturers in the world, they see this as like a cutthroat new policy from the United States. It's taken away from their own infrastructure in their own countries and blah, blah, blah. And they think it's going to have financial harm to them and blah, blah, blah. But it's just one example in the car industry, which I've talked about numerous times, about how the green agenda is driving tomorrow. We're all living in tomorrow. That is the constant conversation we seem to hear more than ever is tomorrow. What's going to happen tomorrow? And once again, I'm not saying that we have that this is anything new. Where you're going to take a road trip tomorrow. You've got a project due tomorrow. You're going to do it. I mean, so let's goes on and on and on. But it seems like more than ever that the governing bodies are getting a lot of support just by individuals that believe tomorrow is going to be worse off if you don't take steps today to start doing these green agenda. And the green agenda, some here may be like, it's just conversations are so not the car thing so much anymore, but the political side. Well, the sad part is the green agenda is costing us extreme amounts of money. The green agenda is not going to stop. The green agenda is already, the ship has sailed. So many people think that, that these electric vehicles are going to get kicked to the curb. It's not going to happen. The automotive manufacturers have invested billions between all of them, probably trillions of dollars of investment to convert to the EV age and to the alternative energy age of how transportation is going to be handled over the ice age. That's why I call my channel the Ice Age. I look at it as we're the dinosaurs. We're going to be the ones that die off eventually one day because the ice age is trying to be run into the ground, like the dinosaurs were that give us the oil today, right? So that's why when I continue to talk about the green agenda and the governing bodies, well, it's the governing bodies that are implementing all these laws and mandates that are forcing things to change. To even the point, the defense contractors in the military, have you heard of Scope 1, Scope 2, or Scope 3? If you haven't, you better look into it, because this city administration is now going to start going after defense contractors in the military to start working, more efficiently than ever, and even more drastically than ever to manufacture products for war purposes and other protection and things that we need for our military and to govern our safety of our country, that they're going to have to pass all these, scope 1, scope 2, and even the point like scope 3, I guess, is the most radical of what you're even allowed to, accomplish out of your manufacturing. You have to prove to the governing body of this country that whatever you're doing to provide the service and your goods, that you're meeting that like net zero carbon footprint. This is happening as we speak. I mean, so it's governing body, the people, and the reason I'm talking about this more so this morning about the tomorrow is because we are today living in tomorrow. We're continuing to, us as the consumer and us as the voter, us as a citizen of this country, we're witnessing that the ongoing challenge of changing over from fossil fuels into the green agenda. Uh-oh. Somebody's calling me and can't do that. So I don't know what that's all about. So for anything, for me as an individual, I just think to myself, this is what's so intriguing, is that the message is always about tomorrow. And if you look at where we're going, where this country's going, I mean, if you read the news and the kids, I gotta put you on hold. Oh, the interruptions, the interruptions just doesn't end, does it? Yeah. So what I'm trying to convey this morning through my conversations is, it seems as if more than ever we're now on the path of always what will be tomorrow. That more than ever, people I feel are making decisions based on what people tell them that's going to be happening tomorrow. I mean, you know how powerful it would be if I could tell you tomorrow what the winning Powerball numbers are for the lotto? Do you think if I actually did that one time, how many people would start calling me and probably even pay me because I could tell them I know the winning Powerball or Mega, whatever lotto's being played? If I knew the numbers, do you know how powerful I'd be? I can promise you people would be paying me tons of money if I could tell them I know exactly what the winning numbers are for tomorrow or tonight's draw, whatever the future. But yet today, more than ever, people are caught up through the media machine, social media machine, and the governing bodies and political powers that have convinced people they know exactly what's going on for tomorrow. I mean, it's beyond believable. And people get caught up in this stuff. And the reason I can say that this is factual is if you look at right now, if you watch the news and you listen to YouTubers, what is the conversation every day now? Is it that today is a better day than yesterday? It's not. Today is a worse day than yesterday. Meaning, if you have a car, it's losing value. Meaning, if you have stocks, your stock doesn't have the same value it did yesterday or year before. If you're employed, you may be losing your job. Your house isn't worth what it used to be. Article after article on how we're at 9 months of home sales being at their worst in a decade. The car market has seen a huge softening in people buying vehicles. The retail, the list, you can just go through the list of things that today is not better than it was yesterday, but yet we had the media machine in 2019 ratcheting up like never seen. The hate in this country, preaching that there'd be a better tomorrow if you could get rid of an individual and sitting powers to be in the House, in the Senate, more of a so the House. And that's all you heard in 2019 to 2020. Then the pandemic came in, and you were told by the experts that they knew tomorrow what would play out with this virus. And that if you didn't do this and do that and do that and do this, they told you to a T how tomorrow would play out. But did it? But yet, more than ever, the media machine has taught so many people to look and hear the media machine and hear that right tone of a voice and the right message. And then they are totally convinced that the tomorrow message is factual and that's the way it's going to be. So if you look at what we just witnessed, the midterms obviously are showing to me as an individual that people are hearing the right message to convince them of what tomorrow is going to be. But the message of tomorrow is not better. It's worse. They're already talking about next year now more than ever. They're pretty confident the recession is going to be here. because so many people are now pulling back. And I'm seeing it and I'm hearing it. So it's inevitable that people are going to people are pulling back. The inflation has finally caught up. The level of savings from so-called others, I don't know, from 2019 was 9.2%. Was the average savings for the average person. Today it's a little over 2%, and the majority of people now have money or just using against their house and borrowing money to have money. But yet you go to 2019 and 2020, we had a whole platform of the sitting president here that told everybody things would be better than they were than the previous administration. And once again, I'm not here to say that because of the economic challenges that came from the pandemic, it wouldn't be challenging for any sitting president. But at the same time, for all the policies, the green agenda. So from one administration to another administration, the green agenda has gone through the roof. China, when China hears that our military is going to borderline go woke, and borderline is going to be the Scope 3 green agenda to the max to try to supply military equipment and other things. The Chinese, they're like, wow, they're laughing. They're laughing how they're not playing by that ball game. They're going to play that ball game. They're going to continue to do what they have to make to be the strongest military in the world. Us here are going to, cave to the carbon footprint of what manufacturers are going to be shut down by the governing bodies that can't build stuff because they're not going to meet the Scope 3 guidelines, which you have to, on borderline, you have to think that the governing bodies of the country are on a mission to take sides with another country. I mean, who does ever think that thought process? Hey, do you believe that can't happen? Look at Ukraine. Talk about Ukraine. I mean, think about tomorrow, the Ukraine, and get this, the time of the year is a president, Time magazine, time of the year man is the Ukraine guy that's witnessed 40,000+ people, perish in his decision-making process, and his country just being obliterated. I know it's so deep with this Russia-Ukraine thing, but me as an individual, you sometimes think, what has he accomplished? I mean, would he have been smarter to play a chess game and let Russia come in and try to take the territory, but down the road somehow try to circumvent that? I don't know. It gets too political, it gets too radical, but at the same time, his military ploy, yeah, for the most part, Russia didn't come in there and just take them all out. But, what is that all about? And why did other European countries not want to help fight off Russia? I mean, there's so many stories of the human trafficking, the Nazis living there, the corruption beyond corruption. For the record, the sitting president, seemed to have relationships over there. Does anybody remember those conversations? Media Machine's not going to talk about that. Media Machine just does not want to talk about this individual in the House or the party to be. But after the midterms, wow, do you realize that not one senator lost their seat as a Democrat? So for the Democrat Party, not one senator was replaced. In fact, the only senator got replaced was Pat Toomey out of Pennsylvania from Fetterman. But Toomey was a Republican, and Fetterman is a Democrat. And Dr. Oz, this incredibly brilliant man that we witnessed for years on all the TV networks, that all the liberal people just loved this guy and thought he was just the greatest guy in the world, turned into the biggest hate of this guy, and he got borderline run out of town. And a guy named Fetterman, who borderline my book is a thug, is now the Democratic sitting, senator in Pennsylvania. And then Warnock and Herschel Walker. Warnock barely won that, but now it's like a 51-49 seat in the Senate. That means that the Republicans are dead in the water. So that the continuing policies, I know we got the House, but at the end of the day, the continuing push for the governing body's green agenda, radical agenda of this country, that is throwing everything through the roof. But is it? To me, the opposite, I think, is going to play out. So for everybody predicting tomorrow, all this gloom and doom, that's all it is. If you have these YouTube channels, all you hear is the gloom and doom. Carvana's going to go bankrupt. That's pretty much the word in the street. Okay. The mortgage lenders are scrambling like never before to find business because of interest rates, and they're now speculating The interest rate is maybe at one point, it may be a surprise in December, and they put the interest rate at 1 point higher because people just, at the most part, the Fed's not really seeing any radical change in the economic conditions. There's nobody really just so-called going broke. I don't know. We don't know. I don't think the media machine's going to share this stuff. I don't think that this sitting powers administration is let the media machine share with you what's going on. It's obvious that the media machine listened to the sitting administration of what could be said on Twitter. I mean, do you think that that's not the same story of all these news outlets? Oh my gosh, it's beyond believable that we're now in an age of technology that I talk about all the time and everybody else talks about all the time that's being controlled by the governing bodies. I mean, it's propaganda to the max. It's nothing new. But in today's society, with all the information in front of us, you just have a hard time believing that it just continues on that path, which is very sad. So, and once again, the main message, all we hear is tomorrow. This is how tomorrow things are going to play out. But you forgot about yesterday's message was for tomorrow. So does anybody remember the message from just a few years ago? That this country would be a nicer place, this country would be far better off, that big business would not be allowed to abuse the consumers. Let's see, the cities would be a safer place because you get rid of these bad police officers and you'd have community officers. We would be nicer to people coming across the border so that they could come here and have an opportunity to live here instead of living in their country. And it would be, a better situation on all the immigration laws. And, I mean, I can just start going through the pitch that you go back, and then the former sitting president, he was the whole reason the virus came here, even though he was the first one to raise his hand and tell everybody that there's a major virus that's just come to our country from China. And Nancy Pelosi was dancing in the streets in Chinatown, laughing at Donald Trump, and a bunch of other, sitting Democrat Party leaders were telling Donald Trump smoking dope, and he doesn't always talk about this virus. But that all turned instantly to a guy named Fauci that told everybody you're going to die, and if you don't go huddle down your house and wrap yourself in saran wrap, then everybody's going to die. I mean, it's just beyond believable of what we were told. But everybody forgets about yesterday. But everybody's now focused on tomorrow. So tomorrow's main message here in this country seems to be today is green agenda to the max, because that'll save Mother Nature, the world. You can be anything you want to be with no consequences. You can do whatever you want to others with no consequences. You can go to college and bail and paying back the college. Let's see here. You don't go to jail, actually. If you go to jail, you don't need to be in jail because you're better off being out of jail. I mean, don't get me wrong. It gets a little extreme there. But at the same time, if you think about what the message is, everything's about tomorrow. And we just witnessed that apparently in Georgia, Warnock, he just won re-election for Georgia. And there's another scenario. And he had 1.8 million votes. Herschel Walker had 1.7. So at the end of the day, 3.5 million, 3.6 million people went to vote, and half believed a better direction would be the better idea for that state and the governing bodies of our country. But the other half felt like, no, the path we're on is great. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with what's going on. The higher prices for fuel, the higher prices for cars. The average new car price now is at $45,872. Wow. 45, close to $50,000 for a new car now. I mean, I just scratched my head. Who here is watching my channel in the last 10 years has doubled, tripled, quadrupled their income? I'm just wondering, who here really in the last 3-4 years has doubled, tripled, quadrupled their income? The houses. I mean, houses have gone up easy 20% value. That's very conservative. They've gone up 40-50% in value. And here's something that's interesting. They did a survey of all these car dealerships. They took a survey of 1,000 car dealerships, and of those car dealerships, the majority of them all saying, hey, the heyday has come and gone. The softening is here. Definitely people pulled back. And I got a kick out of this one guy's comment at one Toyota dealership. One Toyota dealership, they're sending their salespeople left and right to get better training on how to finagle people to buy a car. And I thought it was really intriguing what he said, because believe it or not, when I went back to college just for a very short time, I took Business 101. And one thing I learned out of that Business 101 was that you have an order getter and an order taker. So there's two different classifications if you're a salesperson in life. So the owner of this dealership referenced, hey, I'm sending my sales guys out to learn more and how to become better salespeople because they're turning into order takers. All right, that's all he said. And I'm like, wow, that's so interesting, because an order taker versus an order getter, it's two different types of sales. So let's just take as an example the order taker that he's referencing to. An order taker is a sales position where you work for a major company where people are already programmed to buy a product from your brand company. So as an example of a car dealership, when a person comes to a Toyota dealership, the odds are that person's already kind of on a mission, number one, to buy a vehicle. Number two, they're using the Toyota brand. They're probably Toyota loyal, or they're shopping between the various brands. But as an individual, as a salesperson, you already have a person walking through the door or reaching out through the internet or making a phone call, whatever it may be, of a person that's already focused on buying a product from you. Your job as an order taker is to process and complete the sale. That's an order taker. An order getter is an individual that actually is making sales calls and just catches somebody off guard that wasn't even focused on buying something today, that all of a sudden decides to make a decision to buy something. It was never even in their tasks or things to do project, and then you complete that sale. So it's a much more challenging position, because you as a salesperson are trying to grab somebody's attention and hoping that they may have an interest in what you're presenting to them, and then you have the right circumstances to actually get them what they never realized they really even thought they even wanted, and then you make that sale to them. Versus an order taker, they're preconditioned. That's why you look at the amount of money for car salespeople, and this isn't anything against a car salesman. I'm just sharing with you that as a car salesperson, you work for an organization and a brand that spends billions of dollars or millions of dollars on advertising and bringing products to the marketplace. So for you as an individual in the dealership that works there, when people come to your dealership, they're already on a mission. They're already focused on trying to get a vehicle or whatever it may be. And your job is just to make sure that they feel that that's the right decision. So to me, that's the difference between an order taker and an order getter. So for him, for him to make that statement about his salespeople at the Toyota dealership, well, for them to be order getters, then I guess then he wants to take the position that his people just start cold calling people and try to just start digging people out of anywhere that weren't planning on buying a car today to buy a car. I mean, that would be more of the order getter, where you're just now on the phone and you're reaching out and you're out in the street and you're just trying to persuade people to come to your dealership to buy something and never had a desire at that point to even buy anything. So there's that scenario. But the whole point here is talking about tomorrow. I think more than ever, we live in a society, in a social media machine, and governing bodies that are convincing people that tomorrow this is what's going to play out to be. But yet people don't stop and think. So I'm really amazed that so many people went and voted and we didn't really see as much a radical change we thought we would. And I'm just really amazed that the people that voted kind of the same way, that they're content on what they did, because the message a few years ago is totally opposite of what's happening today. So I'm just kind of befuddled. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me that you continue to support the powers to be in our country that are changing direction and movement, but yet you as the individual, you're potentially going to have less religious freedoms if this Respect for Marriage Act bill gets passed. The Inflation Reduction Act has a lot of language in it that's going to borderline, create it. I mean, the goal is, and I'm not here to knock the guy in the seat all the time. I mean, the goal is to bring manufacturing back to this country in so many words because of what we've experienced. And apparently the Inflation Reduction Act is part of the semiconductor bill that's going to, reward companies to bring semiconductors back to this country, which I think that's a good thing. I mean, there's no doubt there's some good things about it. There's some bad things about it. But at the same time, there is some things that have been passed, like the Marine Time, the Jones Act. Apparently some big billion-dollar contract was just given to some major shipbuilder. But at the same time, I think to myself, yeah, but everything's so expensive. I mean, it's going to be so expensive to manufacture things in this country because of the sitting bodies and the governing powers, that as they just go full circle and we're forced to go back overseas again because the other countries aren't playing the ball game. And that's like the Paris Act of 2015 that Trump got out of that. He felt like we were just spending billions to send aid to other countries that didn't even follow the guidelines. And there's a whole other thing. We just had the big summit over there in Indonesia or wherever it was, where we're now part of a big, another green agenda movement where we're going to be helping India cut down its emissions by 2050, and we're going to be, contributing billions of dollars. But you have to say to yourself, where is the money coming from? It's coming from you. You as a citizen, as a taxpayer, and buying services and goods, you're going to be funding all this. So the continued rise of expenses for vehicles and transportation and food and housing and energy, it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse. So we're getting ready to experience even, more economic hardships from how expensive everything tomorrow is going to be. Tomorrow is going to be more expensive. They're even speculating now that it's so incredible to look at the reports on the housing market. One analyst says 40% loss in value. Another analyst says 1.9% loss in value. Think this through. There's a real estate firm is saying that the average home will have a 1.9% decrease in value. Is this even worth talking about? All right. I mean, then other companies 6%, 7%, and the driving factor is higher interest rates. People's houses are still too expensive, and people are sitting on the sidelines. But the saving grace of the home industry is the new builders haven't caught up to having massive amounts of new homes in the market. Because if the new builders ever catch up, just like the new car manufacturers, if they ever catch up again to having just tons of cars and tons of homes in the market, it's actually a win for you as a consumer because probably things are going to go down in pricing a lot. But to have this constant, that's what they're saying right now, the new car inventory is only at a third of what it used to be. There's like 1.6 million cars in the whole United States. New cars in inventory. That's only a third of what it was back in the heyday. So if you think you're going to go to a new car dealership today and go haggle and get a heck of a deal, it ain't happening. It's still not happening because there's still so many new cars that aren't available. In the used car market, that's a whole other, conversation, which we've had numerous times. All right. Plenty of talking. Got to go. It's getting late. Got to go to work. Got to do things. I start getting ready to go to Florida. And I just thought the tomorrow conversations, look at where we are today from yesterday that we were told how tomorrow would be. And for anybody watching my YouTube channel, I'd love to hear the comments about people saying, well, you're just not looking at it right. You're just kind of being too anti, sitting powers to be. Or, hey, yes, I mean, they're so right. This green agenda has driven everything through the roof because if you don't realize the agriculture side for fertilizer, that industry's been, pounded on. Farmers have been pounded on about how they raise their animals. There's so many other things going on behind the scenes that people don't realize are happening that make it much more difficult as producers to bring things to the market at a fair value and price for the consumer. But you just don't, the media doesn't want to talk about it because the media wants you to believe that by you eating grass outside and you walking everywhere, that Mother Nature Mother Nature Earth will be around for 10 billion years instead of 9 billion years. Yeah, that's about what we're kind of, talking here of the tomorrow, right? Always about the tomorrow. So anyways, appreciate everybody watching my channel and appreciate the comments. Everybody makes great comments. And yesterday I didn't even recognize Pearl Harbor Day. Just too many things going through the brain. But anymore, is maybe anymore for the younger generation. I mean, I get it. How do they relate with this stuff? They can't, because the history. What happened to history class in schools? I mean, what's going on with that? What's the history about now? It's about 1619 readings in the critical race theory. That's what the history channel or the history teachings are about now. So yeah, it's all about what I did wrong to so many others, and yeah, whatever. Okay. So anyways, thanks for watching Ice Age TV, and share the information if you think it's appropriate, and stay tuned for more adventures. Do we have another adventure this week? I mean, wow. I've gone now the longest time with no adventure. No car, no motorcycle, nothing. What's going on? Jeez, I lost the momentum, didn't I? Yeah, what about tomorrow? I'll talk to you about that tomorrow. Everybody have a great day. Stay safe. God bless.